a boxing kangaroo, a leopard that attacks a monkey, a gorilla that is a little too proud, or even rude bears. Make yourself comfortable. Here are some very impressive fights of extremely violent animals. In the Sabi Sand Game Reserve located near the Kruger National Park in the Mpumalanga Lowveld in South Africa, an adult leopard was roaming around looking for a prey to put under its teeth. As he approached two huge trees, he sensed that something was going on over his head. He was indeed attracted by the movement of the foliage, which moved in a lively way. He understood that it was certainly not the wind that could do this. It wasn't long before he spotted a monkey clinging to one of the branches. He decided that this unfortunate monkey would be his meal. With his long claws and powerful legs, the leopard climbed the tree on which the monkey was hanging, but realizing that this one was too far away, he climbed back down, then climbed the other tree to study a different perspective. He wanted to jump on it horizontally rather than vertically. The monkey, who was of course being clever, thought that the leopard would never manage to climb so high and that he was far from any danger. But he was wrong, because the feline had more than one trick up his sleeve. Yes, not only monkeys are smart. The leopard climbed the tree little by little, jumping from branch to branch. And when he evaluated the distance that separated him from the monkey, he jumped on the ladder, caught him, channeled him under his paws, and killed him. The primate, who was far too sure of himself and underestimated the leopard's skills, was amusingly surprised. It's true that being more used to hunting his prey on the ground than doing acrobatics in the air, the feline ended up a bit out of breath, but he was proud of himself that now, as soon as he wants to catch a prey, he has to raise his head towards the sky because the rest is easy. In a natural park in Australia, a solitary kangaroo was quietly munching on grass when suddenly he noticed that someone had intruded on his territory. This individual was not a predator, but he was not familiar to him either. He was not part of his species. The kangaroo then understood that it was necessary to make him flee. In fact, it was an old goat who had come to invite himself in his area to steal some very tasty grass twigs. The marsupial, not very happy about the arrival of the goat, decided to jump in its direction to scare it away. But the goat, too stubborn, stood his ground and would not go away at the first warning. Seeing that the goat refused to go away, the kangaroo got serious and took out his infallible weapon, his stunned punches. One of the peculiarities of kangaroos is that they have the habit of fighting by punching each other, a bit like boxers, by leaning on their tails and punching each other with their front and back legs. He began to strike one after the other with very violent blows in the direction of his rival until the goat finally decided to leave. The kangaroo, very proud of himself, turned on his heels and walked away. But a few minutes after he turned his back, the goat decided to follow the kangaroo to provoke him again and put their fight on the tatami. The marsupial, who was not used to attacking an animal of this species, quickly realized that he was dealing with a tough guy. He was well warned next time he should not underestimate the tenacity of an old goat. On this heavenly beach of Sable Island in New Caledonia, a bird from the Bahamas was sitting on the sand with his friends. They were enjoying the sumptuous sun that day. At one point, our friend wanted to take a dip in the water to cool off, as he had been getting a little hot from tanning. He decided to get into the water and swim for a few minutes. But as soon as he put his flipper in the water, a huge tiger shark jumped on him from the bottom of the ocean before he even realized it. Very surprised, the bird was swallowed in one bite by the huge shark. Unfortunately, he didn't swim for long, but he sacrificed himself for his friends because as soon as they saw the horrible scene in front of their eyes, they moved away from the water's edge to avoid being the shark's next meal, if that's not bravery. In the Omaha Zoo, an American zoological park located in Omaha, Nebraska in the United States, a gorilla sharing the cage of another gorilla received one day several dozens of visitors at the same time, who all wanted to take his picture. Proud of himself, the gorilla wanted to show them all his strength and power. So he started to strut proudly around the cage, going from one end to the other. But while his back was turned, the other gorilla decided to steal the show. The latter, in turn, started to show off in front of the admiring visitors, which slightly annoyed our friend. Then, feeling that the spotlight was no longer on him, the gorilla launched himself on his rival, giving him violent blows and inviting him to fight, a show that was just right for visitors who love scenes like these. After a few brutal blows given and received by his enemy, the gorilla decided to declare himself defeated and to withdraw, not being able to bear to have made a spectacle of himself like that. He quickly regretted having provoked his neighbor and declared war on him. This will teach him not to be a monkey anymore and not to show his knickers, because there is always more than you can handle. In a nature preserve in Africa, a lion calling himself Bob Marley because of his dreads spotted the burrow of a large warthog. He decided to stay next to the burrow until the animal came out and he caught it. It seems that the singer Bob Marley was right in his song Waiting in Vain.
I don't wanna wait in vain. I don't want...
Because the waiting became unbearable for Bob Marley the lion, who started to have a big bellyache. So he started to dig the burrow. He dug for 7 whole hours. Each time he got tired, he stopped and started again after 20 minutes of rest. The warthog, on the other hand, was trying to get away from the hole. At one point, near the end of the day, just as the lion was about to throw in the towel and leave, it started to rain. It rained so much that the den filled with water and the warthog was forced to come out to avoid drowning. Of course, the lion jumped at the chance to turn the situation to his advantage. As the warthog came out, the lion grabbed it and killed it instantly. He dragged his prey with him to bring it back with pride. Even if he had to get dirty and get his hand dirty, he was proud to bring back such a meaty prey to his pack. It was worth it. During the mating season, some animals show off, some display their physical assets, some exhale their scent to attract their partners, and some fight to win them over. In the Alaskan Peninsula, these 2 brown bears were filmed circling a patch of land. They were in the middle of their mating season, and their first objective was to find a female with whom they would mate. Once they found the one they wanted to mate with, the 2 males didn't like to feel they were competing with each other. Because in bears, as in many other wildlife animals, female bears will choose to mate with the most dominant and strongest males, so that the genes of the winner prevail. Logical. So to conquer their future partner, they started a very violent fight. And believe me, a fight between 2 Kodiak bears is quite a show. The male Alaskan Kodiak bear can reach a weight of 850 kilos, which makes it one of the largest predators to have walked the earth. Their claws can measure several centimeters. They are used to mark the trunk of trees to delimit their territories, to seek food, and to fight, as on this sequence. Claw blows added to extremely painful bites. The battle always ends bloody. Both bears must have suffered from the fight, as fights like this can lead to serious and sometimes fatal injuries. In the end, they simply decide to end their brawl. Anyway, that day, they were very badly licked. The atmosphere was not very festive. The only good thing is that they will both be well trained for the next fight. With a tongue like a viper, a body like a crocodile, an agility like a tiger, and an appetite like a wolf, Komodo dragons are incredibly amazing animals. In these images, a Komodo dragon was moving around the island of Komodo in Indonesia, looking for another monitor of its kind. Not that he wanted to chat, but he had a different goal in mind. This one needed to mark its territory and impose its majesty to reign over the 2,000 other individuals living on the island. As in the law of nature dictates, to take the lead of a group, you have to roll up your sleeves and go to war. This giant monitor spotted 2 other monitors fighting over the rest of a deer's carcass. The perfect opportunity. He then launched himself into a fight against one of them. Violent tail blows that fell on his enemy like clubs. Extremely sharp fangs that were planted in his skin. He tried, by all means, to make his opponent bend to oust him and take his place as leader, while the third one watched the show without flinching. After a battle of several minutes, our dragon friend finally defeated his opponent and took the power for a while. The battle was very hard for him because it is not so easy to fight an opponent of this size. He will have to regain his strength and prepare for the next fight with another Komodo dragon, because soon, another varan will come to impose himself in front of him and take his place of leader. But for the moment, he is rather proud of his exploit. He can have a good time in the meantime. In the Kruger National Park in the northeast of South Africa, a rhinoceros was with his herd. He was quietly grazing on grass for his meal when suddenly a pack of hyenas burst in behind him. Hyenas are known to be very opportunistic scavengers who love to get food in a dishonest way by stealing another animal's food or by taking advantage of the weakness of a big animal. As you can imagine, it wasn't the rhino's grass they wanted, but the rhino itself. At one point, one of them succeeded in brutally tearing off the rhino's tail, leaving its backside bleeding. Even worse, the torn tail revealed flesh hanging out of its anus. The hyenas were desperate to hurt him and eat the fresh, bleeding, and still warm flesh. They bounded up against him and took turns pulling the flesh hanging from his backside with their sharp teeth. The poor mammal, too slow and too heavy, was unable to defend himself against his assailants. After a while, seeing that he had no choice but to save his skin, the rhino started to run towards the river, hoping to dive into the water and dissuade the hyenas from pursuing their plan. We don't know what happened to the poor rhino, but it must have been a pain in the butt. I don't even think he could sit down for very long. All kidding aside, the rhino must have had the lesson of his life. Nature is like that. Even when you are a big mammal, you can fail when you have several close enemies in front of you. So which of these sequences impressed you the most? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if you liked this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive all the notifications and not miss any of our upcoming content.